Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. Coming up in today's newscast, Israel prepares for a possible attack from the Islamic State. The power struggle between the Palestinian leaders is heating up, and Israel extends a helping hand to Italy after a devastating earthquake. I'm Natasha Kirchuk, here with the latest news in Israel. Israeli border police officers have been wounded in an alleged car ramming attack in the West Bank. The attack took place on Route 60 just north of Hebron, and the driver of the vehicle was shot dead at the scene. The Palestinian Health Ministry has identified the assailant as 23-year-old Khaled Ahmad Aylan from the West Bank city of Beit Unmar. The injured policemen have been taken to Jerusalem Hospital for treatment. Earlier in the day, an Israeli child was also injured in the same area after a number of Palestinians threw rocks at cars on the highway. The IDF is now searching the area for the perpetrators. These two incidents follow a series of attempted attacks over the weekend in the West Bank. On Saturday, an Israeli vehicle came under fire. And on Friday night, a Palestinian man attempted to run over IDF troops at a checkpoint near the Ofra settlement. Israeli forces opened fire on the car, leading the assailant to halt his car and exit. He then attempted to stab the soldiers with a knife. The attacker was shot down and seriously injured, and he's now being treated in a Jerusalem hospital. It looks like elite border police in Israel have been engaging in intensive training, all in an effort to prevent Islamic State terrorists from infiltrating the Jewish state. According to a report from Israel's Channel 10 News, defense officials believe it's only a matter of time before heavily armed Islamist extremist terrorists may try to breach the Sinai frontier, so they can attack Israelis from within the Jewish state. The army has already built a high fence along the country's border with the Egyptian territory, similar to those up north that Israel has with Syria and Lebanon. Until now, the border police have been directing most of their efforts at preventing drug and weapon smugglers from entering the country. But the recent deadly escalation between Egyptian forces and the ISIS-linked jihadis in the nearby peninsula has Israel on edge. One officer says the greatest concern is a danger posed by cells of 15 to 30 terrorists who might try to enter armed with anti-tank and other serious arms. Counter-terrorism commandos have been holding special drills with particular focus on hostage-taking situations. Another official is adding that such an attack could happen at any time. Meanwhile, efforts to implement a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict remain a main concern in Europe. Berlin's foreign minister has reaffirmed his nation's commitment to the initiative, following a meeting held by the German Palestinian Steering Committee.
Es ist ein Konflikt, der nicht in Vergessenheit geraten ist und nicht Vergessenheit geraten darf. Frieden zwischen Israel und Palästina bleibt nicht nur ein Wunsch in der Region, nicht nur ein Wunsch in Palästina, sondern das bleibt auch unser deutscher Wunsch, und wir bleiben dabei, dass die Realisierung der Zwei-Staaten-Lösung die einzige ist, um Frieden und Stabilität in diesem Teil der Welt auf Dauer zu garantieren. Deshalb bleibt das auch Richtschnur für unsere Politik.
Palestinian Prime Minister Rami Hamdallah was in the German capital for the talks. He claims the Palestinians are also still committed to a two-state solution and is blaming Israeli settlement expansion for obstructing the peace process. That view is shared by the European Union, which has just criticized Israel's latest construction plans. The government of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu strongly rejects those accusations, saying that the newest housing units are being built for Jewish residents at an existing Judean town. Israeli officials maintain that the conflict remains at an impasse because the Palestinians refuse to negotiate, but instead incite further violence against Jews. In related news, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is slamming the UN Human Rights Council and says it's time to end its excessive and biased focus on Israel. Kerry's remarks come right after the U.S.'s re-election as a member of the UNHRC in a vote by the General Assembly on Saturday. Israel is the only country in the world that is listed as a permanent topic for discussion by the Council, which Israel believes is used as a form of hate against a Jewish state by Muslim and Arab states. Now, turning to the Palestinian leadership, which is facing mounting pressure from the Arab world. Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and other Arab countries want the president of the Palestinian Authority to tackle the divides among his people that have been deepening over the past year. This is all in a bid to strengthen Palestinian leadership and keep the stalled peace process with Israel alive. Ramallah is now going to hold the first Congress of Abbas's Fatah party since 2009, next month in attempts to resolve major differences among many rival members.
فتح الآن هذا المؤتمر ليس مؤتمر انتخابات لإحلال قيادات بدل قيادات، بل هو مؤتمر قضايا واستراتيجيات والتفتيش على إيجاد مخرج من المأزق الذي تمر به الحالة الفلسطينية.
Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has refused to step down from the presidency at the end of his 4-year term, which ended 7 years ago. Neighboring states, diplomats, and major funders are afraid that open conflict could erupt if the 81-year-old dies in office. But so far, there is no sign that any transition process has been set. Many Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza say they want to see the fair appointment of a vice president, although others voice doubt such a move will take place.
نائب رئيس مستحيل راح يصير يعني بس يعني يكون رئيس وبس هاي هيك سياسة فتح قيادات فتح نائب رئيس مستحيل راح يكون
يجب أن يكون في نائب للرئيس ولازم يكون في انتخابات حرة ونزيهة على شرط تكون انتخابات حرة ونزيهة. بالنسبة لنائب الرئيس يعني هو هذا مفروض موضوع قام من فترة زمنية لأنه بعد يعني عمره طويل لسيادة الرئيس لكي لا يحصل انفلات في السلطة وتشتت لها يجب أن يكون نائب الرئيس قائم على إدارة وشؤون الدولة بعد سيادة الرئيس.
أكيد طبعا مع خطوة وجود نائب رئيس فلسطيني بسبب وجود خلافات سياسية ولأن في حال وفاة الرئيس أو ما شابه ذلك سيحل الفراغ السياسي في البلاد.
The radical Islamist Hamas rulers of Gaza are accusing their longtime Fatah enemies of controlling the selection of Abbas's successor and are demanding all Palestinian factions to be involved.
استئثار حركة فتح بمناقشة ملف خلافة رئيس سلطة محمود عباس أو استحداث مناصب جديدة ذات صلة بهذا الملف يعكس استمرار حالة التفرد والهيمنة من قبل حركة فتح واحتكار صناعة القرار الوطني. نحن نرفض هذا السلوك ونرفض اتخاذ أي قرار من حركة فتح بشأن هذا الملف وندعو إلى مناقشة هذا الملف في سياق وطني تشارك فيه جميع القوى الوطنية لاتخاذ قرار بما يخدم المصلحة الفلسطينية.
It's not likely elections will be held anytime soon. Opinion polls show Palestinians have lost confidence in Abbas's leadership, and that it's possible Hamas would win in both Gaza and in the West Bank if voting was held tomorrow.
مرت فترة طويلة على إجراء الانتخابات الرئاسية والتشريعية ولم يتم العودة مرة أخرى للشعب إلى اختيار يعني قيادات جديدة، وهذا أمر يمس بمصداقية وهيبة ووزن السلطة ومنظمة التحرير الفلسطينية التي لم تعقد اجتماعا للمجلس الوطني منذ أكثر من 20 عاما.
As the Palestinian internal divisions remain on the edge of exploding and the last vestige of democracy in the territories continues to erode, it makes the revival of the peace process with Israel an increasingly unlikely prospect. Christians in the Middle East are facing the most severe persecution in centuries. That's at least the view of the head of the International Christian Embassies, who sat down with ILTV's Steve Leibowitz to talk about how Islamic radicalism in the region is the main culprit.
The Christian community in the Middle East probably faces today one of the most severe forms and periods of persecution since many centuries. The number of Christians is dwindling all over the Middle East. We see this even taking place here in Israel. I just talked to a pastor in Nazareth, which feels that his community is due to Islamic pressure from Hamas-led municipal governments in that city. They are losing their rights. And I think it's indeed a sad time. On the other side, the interesting thing is that at the same time, with the rise of ISIS, with the rise of radical Islam in the Middle East, also a disillusionment is taking place among many Arabs in the Middle East. They realize that Islam is a religion that has a long track record of violence. They saw it and observed it for many years abroad with terrorism on 9/11 and in many other countries. And now suddenly this violence is hitting home, and it's coming to their own footsteps and to their own doorsteps. And they realize that this religion, which we grew up with, is actually a ticking time bomb. And many of them are distancing themselves from this violent form of Islam. And to be honest, for Christianity, it's good news, because many of the evangelical churches in the Middle East, they are growing like never before. And the prime example for that is, for example, the country of Iran, which is today the fastest growing evangelical community in the whole world. There's no country where evangelical Christianity is growing faster than in Iran. And this has to do with the rise of a radical regime which arrived there 30 years ago, where an increasing number of Muslims say, well, if this is Islam, we don't want to be a Muslim, we rather want to be Christians. So in a way, this, I believe, also is good news for Israel, because many of those evangelical Christians, they love Israel, they support Israel, and we see this even happening in some of the underground churches in Iran.
I noticed that even here in Israel, there's a trend in recent years where Christian Israelis are volunteering and joining the Israeli army.
Absolutely, and it's for sure something where you see like a paradigm shift that is developing here in Israel, but also in the whole neighborhood, where I believe we are today living in one of the most exciting times in that region. A time of trouble and challenge, where there's a lot of darkness around us, but at the same time you see some very hopeful development.
These Christians clearly identify as Israelis and want to be part of the defense of their country.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Now, this may be a strange question, but have you ever wondered what it looks like inside of Jesus' tomb? Well, you could be one of the first people in 500 years lucky enough to get a peek, all thanks to a restoration project going on at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. The house of worship has long been venerated as a place where Jesus was crucified, laid to rest, and then ascended to heaven, according to the Christian faith. An enormous marble stone covering his empty tomb was lifted, revealing another marble block marked with a cross. Historians say dates back to the 12th century Crusaders. The last time the marble cover was moved was probably sometime in the 16th century. The tomb is in such bad shape that it had to be closed to pilgrims about a year and a half ago. The British were the last to fix it in 1947, and metal cables they put in place are going to be replaced. Other material like cement will be used to fill cracks and make it safer. It's taken a lot of negotiations for the Eastern Orthodox, Roman Catholic, and Armenian primary custodians of the church to agree on repairing the site, because each denomination fiercely guards its own claim of sovereignty to the property. Many observers find it kind of amusing that Israeli Jewish police officers are on hand to make sure the process goes smoothly. For now, the marble block was returned to its spot yesterday, and the site is already open for today's visitors. Living in today's modern world of smartphones and mini everything, it's becoming commonplace for people to lose their eyesight. As reading glasses become more necessary and even more expensive, it's hard not to think, what if you could just fix your vision? Well, one Israeli company called Glasses Off says that you can, all by yourself, with just a few minutes of your day. Visiting us in the studio today is Samuel Raka, the head of operations at Glasses Off. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting me today. And today I'm here to talk to you about Glasses Off, which is our innovative solution to get rid of reading glasses. If you think of people above the age of 40, I'm sure that most of them need reading glasses. A recent study showed that almost 90% of people above the age of 40 are dependent on reading glasses. And we have this amazing technology that we provide through a mobile app, which is called indeed Glasses Off. And what it requires is only 3 times a week for 10 minutes, and within 2 months you're able to read without glasses again. Now think about how massive That is, think about people above the age of 40. If you're above the age of 40, chances are that you're dependent on reading glasses. I'm sure that either your parents or people older than you that you know, I'm sure that you're familiar with those situations in which you're in a restaurant and you're with older people and they're trying to look at their menu and they're not succeeding because they're dependent on reading glasses. And most of the time, either they forget them or they lost them and they don't have them when they need them the most. We have this amazing technology that we provide through a mobile app. You can easily and simply download it on the App Store and on the Play Store. It's for free, and within 2 months you'll be able to read without glasses again.
So how does that work? Can you explain? You download this app, and then what is the process to stop using your glasses?
Okay, so basically the way it works is the following. If you think about our vision is determined by 2 factors. The first one is something that each and every one of us is aware of, and that's the eye, which is our camera. It's our lens. The second one is something that people tend to undermine, and that's our brain. The truth is that we don't see in our eyes, we actually see in our brain. So what Glasses Off does is basically strengthening your brain to better elaborate the signal that you get through your eye. And by doing that, we're able to overcome the weaknesses of the eyes.
How did you guys come up with this idea?
The technology was developed by a bunch of neuroscientists by the Tel Aviv University. They were led by a worldwide famous neuroscientist whose name is Professor Uri Polad. He is famous worldwide. He has more than 50 scientific publications in this field. He literally spent more than 30 years in this field researching and developing how neuroscience can improve and can have an impact on the way we see things. And after a couple of years, he met a guy who's like a serial entrepreneur. His name is Shai Novik. He sold a company for almost $500 million. They decided to turn this technology into a working and amazing product. And that's how we turned Glasses Off and the technology behind it into a mobile app that's available across thousands of countries all over the world, and it already has more than 1 million users worldwide.
So do you have to pay for this app when you download it, and what languages is it in?
The app right now is available for free. You can simply download it on the App Store and on the Play Store, so it's available for iOS devices and for Android devices as well. And the first thing that you're supposed to do is basically completing an initial vision test evaluation. The way it works is basically you take this test assesses whether you're an ideal candidate for the app or not. For instance, let's say that I use the app. I'm not dependent on reading glasses. If I take this test, the app will automatically detect that I'm not an ideal candidate for Glasses Off, and it will tell me, for a matter of fairness, that I'm not an ideal candidate for the app and that I'm not supposed to continue training with the app. Yet, if you're dependent on reading glasses, the app will detect that you're dependent on reading glasses, and it will tell you, listen, if you keep training with Glasses Off, within a month, 2 months, depending on the strengthness of your vision, you'll be able to read without glasses again.
Interesting. Now, how many people have tried the app so far?
The app has been downloaded already by more than 1 million users worldwide. It was launched in France in May 2015, and it was a big success. To give you an idea, it was featured on the first page of Le Parisien, which is the #1 newspaper in Paris and the second one in France. All the local TV talked about it, and right now we're in the process of approaching new markets, starting mainly from Europe, because the app, as you asked before, is available in French and in English. So for us it will be extremely easy to penetrate, like for instance the UK or the US, and then we're thinking of working on other languages as well.
Interesting. Now, what is next for this company and the product?
So among the many IPs that we have around 24 IPs that were filed in different countries already. We have a few products in our pipeline. We're currently working on the second version of Glasses Off, which will be extremely more gamified, so it will be even funnier for people to train with Glasses Off. And then on top of it, our technology is also able to improve other aspects of your vision, and it can also be used as a diagnostic solution. For instance, I can give an example. Our solution is able to detect whether you suffer from ADHD, which is like a common issue in kids, and it's something that's becoming more and more serious as time goes on. And our solution is so non-invasive that you can simply download an app, take this test, and this test will tell you whether you are suffering from ADHD or not. It can also detect whether you are suffering from glaucoma, which is the #1 disease for blindness in the world. And in addition to that, we're also working on a product for low myopia. So not just for far-sighted people, but also for nearsighted people.
Wow, this sounds major. Now, tell me, how many people do you think are going to be affected when we're just talking about the eyesight product? How many people around the world will be influenced if they, are to download the product?
Okay, so basically, like the eye, as the rest of your body, tends to get older as time goes on. So your eyes get older as the rest of your body does, and as they get older, they deteriorate. So what happens is that even if you had like a 20/20 vision during your entire life, when you're turning 45 or 50, then chances are that you'll be dependent on reading glasses. The existing solutions for this problem is either being dependent on reading glasses for the rest of your life, or surgery, which is first of all not cost effective, because it does cost a lot, and secondly, it's not even widely spread, and third, it costs quite a lot, and it's not even safe. Our solution, first of all, is so portable that you can carry it with you all the time, because the only thing that you need is having a smartphone, and secondly, it only requires 3 times a week for 10 minutes, and within 2 months you're done with the program. We think that it could have a massive, massive impact in the life of people above the age of 45, and that's when you start feeling the need for reading glasses.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming in. It sounds like this product that you guys are offering can change the lives of millions of people, and when I start losing my eyesight, which hopefully won't happen soon, I will definitely check it out.
Thank you for having me today.
Thank you. Israel is once again offering Italy assistance in recovering from the latest powerful earthquake that hit the country this morning. The Jewish state is regarded as a world leader in search and rescue operations. At the start of his weekly cabinet meeting, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu announced that Israel will send the very best aid it can to Italy. Today's 6.6 magnitude quake hit southern and central Italy just 4 days after 2 others measuring 5.5 and 6.1 on the Richter scale struck the same area. So far, there are no reported casualties from today's disaster, although on August 24th, 300 people were killed in yet another tremor. A 20-member team from the Jewish state's Israel humanitarian nonprofit was the first foreign group on Italian soil to respond to that crisis, helping with everything from extricating people trapped by rubble to providing life-saving supplies and trauma counseling. ILTV has brought you several reports about incredible developments going on at Israel's Volcani Center of Agricultural Research, which is geared towards ending world hunger. Now, the institute is working with the Hebrew University of Jerusalem to come up with methods that can preserve food for longer periods of time. That's really critical for a number of reasons. Right now, 1 out of 9 people on Earth don't have enough food to lead healthy, active lives. That's about 795 million people. Based on projections, the global population will increase by 20% to 9 billion people by the year 2050. That, combined with global warming, less land to raise crops, and less water, makes it obvious that more has to be done to extend the shelf life of whatever food is available. The Israeli researchers just created a bioactive carton to preserve milk by successfully synthesizing antimicrobial peptides. These natural proteins are part of the human, animal, and plant immune systems that help prevent infections by fighting bacteria. The Israelis found that their laboratory-synthesized peptides have been highly effective against the kinds of bacteria that invade food. Their results also have other unlimited potential applications, such as pest control sprays for crops or even hospital disinfectants. And this, of course, isn't just great news for Israel, but for all of humanity and generations to come. And now for our Hebrew word of the day. The weather is changing, the leaves are falling, and the clocks are turned back. That's why today's word is sha'on, meaning clock. The word sha'on has the same root as the word sha'a, meaning hour, so sha'on can alternatively be translated as timepiece. But no matter what you call it, a sha'on is a great way to keep yourself on track. That being said, make sure to always carve a little time for yourself on your sha'on because, as J.C. Penney once said, clock watchers never seem to be having a good time. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast.
ILTV's weather forecast is sponsored by Adopt a Savta, taking care of Israel's lonely Holocaust survivors.
Tonight will be partly cloudy with a low of 68, and tomorrow you can expect a slight drop in temperatures with a high of 78 and some light rainfall in the north. All right, everybody, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.85 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at iltv.tv, and don't forget to check out our evening update every night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for watching, and see you tonight.